Welcome back to the next video. In today's video I will show you how to create a SQLite plugin for your Godot game for Android, and I will be using something called a Room database. So Room database is the recommended approach from native Android development, and it is built on top of SQLite. The advantage is that when you are writing SQLite queries, there is a huge chance there could be some error inside your queries, like select star from particular table name. But Room is quite interesting, like it will give you compile time error itself when you are trying to write a query. So that's the advantage of using Room. So here you can see I have 4 buttons: insert, update, delete and read, and I have one label as well. Now I will insert some string data to my database. So I'll just insert it. So I'm getting a success is not inserted, like the data which I'm inserting, I think it is 1, right? First. Okay, now I will update it. So what I'm doing is first I will read it, just so that you know. Okay, so there is an array of strings which contain first as the value. Okay, now I will update the value from first to 10. So update it. So it has successfully updated. I will read it again. So here you can see it is 10. Now I will delete that data. So delete won't work because I'm deleting a string, like I'm deleting a column which has a data of first, like this is actually the column name is title, so it won't find it. So what I will do is I will insert again. Okay, success. I will read again. So I have 10 and first. Now I will delete first because I have hard coded all these values, but in typical like example you would get some values from a server, or the user will input some values, those kind of stuff, right? Just for simplicity sake I have hard coded these values. Now I will delete it. Okay, so delete is success. I will read it again. So I'm just getting 10. Oh sorry, I was not showing you guys the output. Okay, so I will just insert again. Okay, so here you can see I will read it again. So 10 and first, I will delete it. So first will be deleted. Now I will read it again. So you are getting only 10. Okay, so yeah, that's what this is. Like you can insert lot of data, and I'll also show you one. So if you even try to relaunch your app, like completely close the app, relaunch your app, your data will be persisted because it is stored in SQLite. So yeah, let's get started. Again, I have already done a video on step-by-step guide how to create a plugin. So if this is your first video, better watch that, because here I will be only explaining things. I won't be doing it myself because I have already done all the things for you. So you just have to follow me. Okay, so first what you will have to do, you will have to create an Android project. It can be a Jetpack Compose project or an empty views project, doesn't really matter. Once you create a project, you will just have to right click on your project, new module, go to Android library, and here you can give your library some name. I have given it as my library. I have already created this, so I'll just cancel this. Once you create your library, you will have to make sure you are inside this Android drop down. Then you will have to go to your build.gradle.kts, and here firstly you will have to add this Godot engine dependency because you want to create a plugin for Godot. Now at the time of this recording I'm using Godot 4.2.1, but if it is higher for you, make sure you go to Maven Central and check the version of this, like it is mostly matched with the Godot engine which you are using. Then we have to include these two dependencies as well, because like I told you, right, a Room is built on top of SQLite, so we are going to use Room database. Like it is basically a SQLite database, but it has it is the recommended approach from native Android development, like from Google. And we also require these coroutines. Like currently for this Android library I am using Kotlin 1.9.0, 1.9.20 I guess, and that does not require this external dependency, but Godot 4.2.1 internally targets 1.0, 1.7.0 Kotlin version. Even if you try to upgrade it manually, it doesn't work. So yeah, maybe in Godot 4.3.0 you don't have to add this manually if the Godot team decide to update their Kotlin version for Android. Okay, so add this, and we also require this KSP. Like this is kind of like a automatic code generation stuff, so you don't have to worry too much about it. So add this also. Go at the top, you will have to add this. Okay, because this is required by KSP. Now you will also have to add one additional step. Go over here and you will have to add this build script, because this is again required for KSP. Now again check this version, like you can just search for this, just search for this on Google, and it will give you the latest updated version. Like I am using Kotlin 1.9.10, that's why I'm using this version. But if you are using some above version of Kotlin for your Android library, doesn't matter what version you are using for your Godot game for Android in Kotlin, but what version you are using for your library. So Kotlin version 1.9.10, that's why I'm using it over here. So that's one thing out of the way. Then just click on sync now, and you should be able to import all those dependencies. Next, first we will go to app database. So here we are creating our database, and here we are creating one entity. An entity is kind of like a table. So this is will be our database, and each table will have a DAO class, like DAO class. Now if you have multiple tables, like I have kept this tutorial as simple as possible. If you have multiple tables, you can add this over here as well, like comma separated values, and you can add more abstract class as well, sorry, abstract function, and this all will remain same. Like this could be your database name, and we are extending from root database. The version is one. In case you are updating your version, like if you have deployed your app to Play Store, then you are making some changes in your schema of your table, then you might have to update your version as well. And you also have to provide the migration guide, like you can check the room documentation for that. And export schema, I have set it as to false. I'm not sure why, because like whenever I was when I was doing native Android development, I didn't have to set this export schema. I think this might be related to whether you can export your room database from your app, whether the user can export it or not. Okay, maybe, because I didn't really do this, but when I was trying to generate an AR file, it was telling me that the export schema is not set. That's why I made it as false. Next we will have to create a like a table. So first you can create a data class, give any name. So whatever name you have given over here, make sure you give the same name over here, and it just has a primary key which will be auto generated for us, sorry. And I have used this @entity annotation, and here you can see it has just one more column called title. So I have kept it simple, but if you want, you can add more columns as well, like whatever description or date, time, those kind of stuff. Next we have to define what all functions our table will have. So our table will have get all to dos, insert a to do, delete a to do, update a to do, and get to do by name. So here you can see I can automatically write this queries over here, and if you write it wrong, so suppose if I write to do and title and entity 1, so here you can see it is actually giving me a compile time error. So this is the main advantage of using Room database instead of normal SQLite database. Same thing, insert, delete, update, and here you can see I'm adding this annotation. So these are helpful, so we don't have to write each and every query for it. And here I'm getting a to do by its name, so that's how it is written. And this suspending thing is because we want to use coroutine. So if you don't know what coroutine is, like it is a feature of Kotlin which help us to do operations on a background thread. Okay, so that's why we are using this suspend, because we don't want to do it on the main thread and it will block the UI. And if it is a low Android device, like a low end Android device, it might completely like this application not responding error you might get. So that is the best practice recommended by the Android. Next we have to create a class called Godot Android plugin. And yeah, here I have written this update the compile HDK of Godot. I hope I remember this because I want to tell it to you guys. Yeah, I will tell you later on, because that is part of the Godot project, not a part of the Android library. So first create this Godot Android plugin, and you also have to extend this lifecycle owner, because we need so to access a suspending function you require an access to coroutine. But when you are using coroutine, that function also makes it as suspending function, and to actually use it you have to make use of this lifecycle scope, so which you can see over here, because the insert is also a suspending function. So that's why we require this lifecycle owner. You don't have to worry too much about it, like however this is not related to Room database, like you have to use this coroutine stuff. Make sure also this is the plugin name, so make sure whatever plugin name you give, do remember it, because we will be using this in many places. And my database name is just MyDB. You can give it whatever you want to. and here I am just creating a mutable list, because this list we will be sending back to the godot side whenever the user is trying to read all the data. And here I have to create this lifecycle registry. I have to handle the lifecycle events as well, and we have to override this lifecycle method as well, because we are extending lifecycle owner. Okay, and here we are initializing all our plugins. So there is this room signal as room data signal. So once the room signal is called, I am just giving a message like success or failure for insert, update and delete. And this room data signal, I am using it whenever I want trying to read all the data and sending that data back to the godot side. I am no these are like bad naming conventions, but yeah. And also, if you notice, even though I'm reading all the data in string list format, I'm sending it a form of string, because at the time of this recording godot does not handles like complex data types, it just handles primitive data type. There might be a way, but yeah, like what you could do is that suppose you have extremely complex data, you are converting it to a list, then you can convert it to a string or json stringify it, and then json parse it on the godot side. So that is one approach which you can use. Okay, next this is for insert data, and here you can see I'm just calling this lifecycle scope dot launch insert, and here this is how we are just calling the db dot DAO class dot insert method which we have created, and we are just passing the name whatever you pass it from the godot side, and I am just emitting a signal. Okay, success. Similarly for delete data as well, I'm getting all the to dos, I'm filtering it. So actually this is a bad approach, like because I wanted to show you this approach. Like you can do something like this, get all to dos, then filter it, and if it is not empty, then I'm just deleting the first item of your table. But the better approach would be something like which I have done for update data. So I'm getting the to do by its name. Okay, because if you remember, we have written this method over here, get to do by name, and then if the items is it should be an item, and if the item is not null, then just update that particular item. Okay, and this is for reading the data again, like this I'm just clearing our list and fetching all the item, adding it to our list, and just sending it back in a form of string. So next what you will have to do, go to your android manifest.xml, and you will have to add this thing, but here make sure this should be your plugin name, and make sure this should be your package name. So to get the package name, you can go over here, this should be your package name, followed by the class name godot android plugin or whatever you have given. Yeah, next let's see if I have forgot anything. We are done with this, we are done with this, we are done with this. Okay, next you will have to go to project directory, and here you will have to go to my library or whatever your library name is, create a folder called export scripts template. Inside that, create a file called export plugin.gd, and again I have copy pasted this from the docs. The only thing which you have to remember is you will have to change this to your plugin name, and because we have added this external dependencies to our build.gradle, we have to add this over here. So don't forget to add this, because this is not specified in the documentation. I got to know because of one helpful user who helped me solve this issue on GitHub. So we are adding this dependency in build.gradle, so we have to add this. We are adding this coroutine support as well, we are adding this room extension as well, and this lifecycle owner is because of this lifecycle scope thing which we are adding, even though it is automatically present in Kotlin. I think again this is Kotlin version issue, that's what I feel. Maybe in Kotlin 1.9.0 if godot updates their Kotlin version, we might not require this, but at least at the time of this recording they don't, so I had to add this. Same for this release mode as well, same thing you have to do. Okay, next you will have to add this plugin.cfg, again copy pasted it from docs. This should be your plugin name, you can change the description and author. So yeah, this is done, this is done. Okay, next you will have to open your terminal, cd to your android project, don't cd to your library, and just run this command. So once you run this command, if you go to your android project, go to your library, build, outputs, AAR, here you should see two zip files, sorry not zip files, .aar files. I have already copy pasted these files to my godot project, that's why you are not seeing this, but you should see over here. Okay, Next you will have to create your godot project, and here once you create your godot project, just create a folder called add-ons. Inside that, create a folder with your plugin name. Again, be careful. Next, inside your plugin folder, you will have to copy this exports plugin and plugin.cfg, which we have created over inside our Android library. So copy these two files. Next, create a bin folder inside your plugin folder. Inside that, create this debug and release folder. Now the AR files which you have over here, you will have to copy it to your godot project. So I will just go to my godot project, add-ons, my room plugin, bin, debug, and copy the debug one to the debug folder and the release one to the release folder, but you have to change the name. So here you can see that it should be your plugin name dash debug.aar. Similarly for release as well, your plugin name dash release.aar. Okay, this is done. Next, what you have to do is just I have just created a vbox container with 4 buttons and a label, and here you can see I have attached the on-click listener for all of them. And here I have created my plugin name. Again, make sure you use your own plugin name. And here I am initializing our plugin as well as setting our signals. And on insert pressed, I am sending a data called first. Again, I am hard coding this data, but in real world you might be seeing some dynamic data, and for updating as well. So this, wherever you find this first, update it to 10, and delete data wherever you find this first, delete that particular data. And this is for reading the data, and here I am just assigning it to our label text for these two signals. Next, you will have to go to project, install Android build template. I have already done that. Just click on it, and if you are doing it first time, you will have to download the Android build template. Next, go to export, and here click on add this Android thing. Make sure you click this use Gradle build. And also I had to update the target SDK version to 34. It is giving this version because godot 4.2.1 is still supporting 33 as default, but like the ROM library version which you are using, it requires 34. So you have to make this as 34. Also, there is one more change which I want to show you. Also, you will have to enable the architecture for which device you are running on. If you don't know, just enable all 4 of this. And also you might get an error over at the bottom like fix import. Just click on that fix import button and it should solve you for that. Next, you will also have to go to editor settings and just search for Android, and you will have to add that debug path and Android SDK path as well. Okay, so we are done with this done with this. Yeah, I think that should be it. One important thing which I want to show you, which you also have to make, is at least for godot 4.2.1 I had to make this, and I think like till 4.3 they are not going to change it to SDK 34 at least. Maybe they might not even do it for 4.3. so what the change is, you will have to go to your godot project, go to Android. So this is automatically created when you install the Android build template. Go to build, and here you will have to, I think, go to settings.gradle. No, not settings.gradle. Is it config.gradle? Yeah, config.gradle. And here also make sure you update the compile SDK version to 34, target SDK version to 34. Again, it's because we are using the latest ROM library for our SQLite database. That's why. I think you can update the build tools as well if you want to. If you want to check where can I get the latest build tools, just inside your Android project you should be able to get it. If not, then you can keep it as it is. I don't think it is present. Actually, I think this build tools concept was like in older Android projects, and I think Godot is still following that, but in like for past 2-3 years, I think the compile SDK and the target SDK itself contains the build tool, something like that. Okay, so even if you keep it as it is, like I have kept it as it is, it will work. So this was the Kotlin version which I was talking about. If you try to even make it 1.9.20, and if you try to remove this thing of this Kotlin and this life cycle, the dependency, it still doesn't work. Like if you try to remove this and this, because 1.9.20 automatically has all this stuff for you, but I don't know why it doesn't work. But yeah, anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.